Okay, so this one was actually a Instagram post from Lane Norton. So he's a good nutrition guy. Basically, so he cited 3 different studies that I looked through, talked about, and this is well established, right? This isn't new information, but I think it's new information for a lot of you guys. So basically what Lane's talking about, in a high fat diet, high dietary fat, you oxidize more fat because you're eating more fat. Your body is simply using the fuel you give it. This does not mean you will lose more body fat, right? So I've heard this a lot. I've had clients, I've had friends that go, Paul, look, man, here's the deal, especially with the keto movement. Here's the deal. When you eat more fat, your body oxidizes more fat. You burn more fat. It is true that your body is going to burn the fuel source that you give it, but that does not mean that you're going to lose more body fat. Right? What matters at the end of the day is energy balance over a 24-hour period. So don't think that you could just eat high fat and all of a sudden burn fat. That also doesn't mean that fat is a bad thing. But if you're on that side, if you're in that camp of like, I'm just going to eat super high fat because then my body will use fat and I'll burn fat. No, you're missing a step. You will use more fat, you'll oxidize more fat because that's what you're feeding your body, but you won't actually burn more belly fat, body fat. So he went on to make another point, sort of unrelated, but still in the same camp. During low intensity cardio, you burn more fat and less carbohydrates, but then you burn more carbohydrates and less fat throughout the day. So again, this is the same idea. You know, the cardio boom in the 80s, we all think about when you go slow and long distance, a slow jog or a fast walk, this is when you're fueling yourself off of fat. You burn more fat in an exercise session when you don't sprint, right? Sprint, stop, that's carbohydrates. Long, slow, that is fat. Whoa there, cowboy, let's slow down because that does not mean that you burn more fat throughout the day. So look, your body always has a counter. So you think you're smart, right? So you go, okay, I'm going to go for a really long jog. I'm going to burn more fat. Your body is like, left hook to the jaw. It's got its own counter. It goes, oh, cool. You're going to burn more fat in the exercise session? Bet. I'm going to store more fat throughout the day, and I'm going to burn more carbohydrates throughout the day. So you basically do the opposite of what you did in your workout. You do the exact opposite. Now, if I go out and think about basketball players, if we're sprinting, sprint, stop, lift weights, rest, get our game reps, rest, all like high intensity interval training, you're burning much more carbohydrates. And keep in mind, this is never in isolation. This is always flowing. So we're still burning fat, we're still burning carbohydrates, but in high intensity interval training, you're burning more carbohydrates during that session. So now throughout the day, you're oxidizing, you're using more fats, right? So at the end of the day, none of this matters. At the end of the day, what matters is the calories that you burn. So at the end of the day, it's 24-hour energy balance. So did we burn more calories than we took in? If so, there's a very good chance that we're going to lose weight, right? If we ate more calories than we burned, we're in trouble. Now, keep in mind, this isn't a simple calculation. You can't just go calculate what you burned in a workout because that's a small piece of the entire puzzle, because most of the energy that you burn throughout the day is through your metabolism, right? You being alive, maintaining homeostasis. That's what burns the most calories. And that's why the meat and potatoes of weight loss is diet and it's increasing metabolism. It's not just what you do in the exercise session. So another thing on that with the idea of jogging, and I still want people to do some jogging. I think that's okay, but what we're talking about is strictly for fat loss. For fat loss, if you go out jogging, your body adapts to that so quick. So basically, okay, you go out jogging, you burn 500 calories. Well, the next session, your body's going to get efficient because that's what the body does. It adapts. And so now your body can go that same distance, and now you're going to burn less. I don't know what it would be, but let's say 450. And then you're going to go do it again, and now it's going to be down to 400, and again, and now 300. So now you're going to reach a point where you have to go on such long jogs just to get up to burning 500 calories. And I'm just using that as an example. I'm not saying you're going to burn 500, but like your body is always going to adapt. And so when you go steady state, you're in a hamster wheel. You're going to have to push harder and harder and harder, run further and further and further just to burn the same amount of calories. So that is not sustainable. But you can always go faster, or you can always go fast and then take your rest period, and then over time progressively overload by decreasing that rest period. So there's always like ways to overload on that high intensity interval side, whereas that steady state cardio, that's really, really tough to progressively overload consistently. But I would say overall, if you're trying to lose fat, well, one, this isn't the conversation to have. It's not about cardio. It's more about diet and strength training. But on the cardio side, hey, I'm fine. We still need to burn some extra calories. On the cardio side, let's have one day, our Monday, where we're fast, and then we have our rest period. So go hard, rest, go hard, rest, go hard, rest. And then the next day, go and do your aerobic, because that is actually more restorative. So long term, your compliance is going to be better because slower jogs can kind of give the nervous system a little bit of a boost. It's good for recovery. So we get that slow jog. Wednesday, we're back to the high intensity. Thursday, we're back to the slow jog. Friday, we're back to the high intensity. So you're always in this alternate pattern. That way you sort of keep your body guessing. You improve your anaerobic endurance, and we improve our aerobic endurance. And I know a lot of the advanced athletes are like, well, why would I need aerobic endurance? An aerobic base, having a good aerobic base is so important for recovery. Why do you think baseball players, a lot of times like after a game, will go for a jog? You got to have that good aerobic base because that is restorative in itself. So don't think that I'm like dismissing jogging or fast walking. It has its place, but we're talking about from fat loss. There's still people out there that think, hey, you burn more fat in that exercise session, so that's what it is. That's what I'm going to do. No, your body is going to hit you in the jaw with a good counterpunch, Mayweather style, and it's going to say, look, man, you burn fat? Cool. The rest of the day, I'm burning carbohydrates because I'm not going to die, and you're going to do that again to me tomorrow, so I need to store fat. So, yep, that's the idea. What Lane said, in the end, whether you gain or lose fat will depend on your energy balance. And this has been shown over and over and over again in so many studies. And it's not as simple as just energy balance long term, because macronutrients matter, right? If I had 2,000 calories with Snickers bars and Krispy Kreme donuts, and I saw a Krispy Kreme, oh my gosh. Ashley and I drove by Krispy Kreme the other day. I haven't had one since like high school. It took so much will to not go in. And I didn't do it, but I've still been thinking about it. Anyways, Krispy Kreme and Snickers, and Calvin likes yellow Gatorades, which is weird. That's old. Nobody gets yellow Gatorades anymore. There's innovative flavors. They got cucumber stuff. They got sour apple, watermelon. And you're still getting the yellow kind? I don't know, man. That stresses me out every time you get a yellow Gatorade. But anyways, I'm getting these 2,000 calories through Krispy Kremes, Snickers, and yellow Gatorade. And then the other guy, he's getting his 2,000 calories through chicken breast, sweet potato, and broccoli, right? We're getting the same amount. Who is going to have the better body? Come on now. We know the answer. We know that the guy with the chicken breast and the sweet potato and the broccoli is going to have the better body. Typically, from the weight loss perspective, they should be the same. But that guy who eats the higher protein is utilized in the body. So a very high amount. And it depends on what you look at, depends on metabolism, all this stuff, depends on what study you look at. But let's say 30% of everything you take in through protein is going to be burned naturally just because you're using it for other processes, recovery in muscle, recovery in cells, all this stuff. Whereas the high carbohydrate mostly just goes towards energy. And then if you don't burn energy, so it's like filling up a gas tank without going on a drive, it's just going to sit there. And sitting there in the body means being stored as fat. So macros are not all the same. The person with the high quality diet of the 2,000 calories, they're going to be more energized. Their workouts are going to be better. They're going to recover better. They're going to have much more muscle mass. They're going to be either able to maintain, and a grown man's not going to build muscle mass on a 2,000 calorie diet. But this is, for example, they're going to be able to build muscle, or if they're in caloric restriction. So if 2,000 calories is a caloric restriction for them, if their protein is high, the studies show that we're able to maintain muscle mass at a high level while we strip fat, right? And that's when our bodies start to look good. Our bodies look like crap when we just get in a caloric deficit and we start losing weight and we're like, yay, the scale's going down, but we lose our muscle along with it. A lot of times you end up looking worse and feeling worse because now you're skinny fat. We don't want to be skinny fat. We want to decrease the fat while keeping the muscle mass, right? And that's only going to happen through slight caloric restriction, nothing extreme. Don't go crazy, but maybe we decrease a couple 100 to 500 calories a day and we keep that protein high, right? So don't get into this idea. And there is a part of the scientific community and nutritionists who will say all that matters is total calories. Yes, from weight loss, but from workouts, from getting better, from looking better, the macronutrients that you're eating and the micronutrients that you're eating are so important.